Allah the Almighty, our Creator, Rabbul Alameen, says in the Quran, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Right? We all know the verse, Surah Al-Fatiha. That Allah is the most gracious, the most merciful. My name is Muhammad. I completed my memorization of the Quran at age 12. During high school, I got average grades to some even below average. After completing high school, I got rejected by every college and university that I applied for. I decided to turn that around, and so at 19, I graduated cum laude from an Islamic institution here in Cape Town, South Africa, after studying Islamic studies full-time for 1 year. And as of early 2025, I am a computer science major at the University of Cape Town. In case you're wondering who am I and why you might be interested in listening to me, inshallah that introduction will help you answer that question. Subhanallah, as much as it's important to remember that Allah is the most merciful, the most forgiving, the most gracious, right? He's also the most just. And why am I bringing that up? That He's the most just, right? That He's going to give everyone and every being their fair due based on the life that they lived, based on the actions that they did, in accordance with their intentions, of course. Well, I think, subhanAllah, when we're discussing this conversation of Allah's forgiveness, I think you get two types of people. Well, I should say, look, there's two types of Muslims that are perpetually engaging in sin. There's the one who, subhanAllah, has his temptations, has his desires, is conscious, is consistently engaging in sin and displeasing Allah, but he's genuinely guilty and he's genuinely trying. And subhanAllah, when you look at the past, maybe few months of his life, subhanAllah, he is slowly doing less and less bad deeds and subhanAllah, sinful actions. SubhanAllah, that's one individual who sins. And another individual who sins, SubhanAllah, it's like in context to this conversation of like Allah's forgiveness, man. I think the first individual, he needs to hear that subhanAllah, Allah is the most merciful, and subhanAllah, no matter what you did, that Allah, can and will forgive you depending on your sincerity, depending on how much you depending on how much you desire Allah's forgiveness. And so, inshallah, that is sort of the message for you. But subhanAllah, there's individuals who are again perpetually are in sin and engaging in sinful deeds and sinful actions, but they use the conversation around Allah's forgiveness as almost a means of, subhanAllah, I can continue sinning because Allah is the most merciful, right? And subhanAllah, when I get closer to the end of my life, then I'm going to ask Allah for forgiveness, and then I'm going to make istighfar, and then subhanAllah, right before I die, I will have made istighfar, Allah would have forgiven me, and then I would die clean. Now subhanAllah, I hope that whoever's watching this, that sounds as silly to you as it does to me. SubhanAllah, an analogy that I can give, and subhanAllah, it's not the most appropriate analogy, but let's say you are working at a job and you are doing everything that you're not supposed to do, right? But you're doing everything you're supposed to do, and you're not performing the actual tasks that you are hired to perform. SubhanAllah, imagine that person at his workplace saying, I'm just going to do all of these other things, and before I get fired, I'm going to do my actual work. It's like, wait, hold on a second. There's so many problems with that. First of all, how do you know when you're going to get fired, right? And second of all, how do you know you're going to get the time and opportunity to fix up your, not mistakes, but you know what I mean? SubhanAllah, you're not even doing what you're supposed to do, and you think before you get fired, then you're going to do it. Well, what's the point? You know what I mean? How do you know, like, you can even get the opportunity to do the right things before you just get fired? SubhanAllah, that analogy might not work as well as it did in my head, but SubhanAllah, I'm just making a point about, SubhanAllah, for some of us, we need to hear that Allah is the most merciful. SubhanAllah, rely on Him, trust in Him, that if you are striving and if you are making the conscious effort to please Him, then SubhanAllah, His forgiveness is there, and inshallah, may Allah forgive us all, may Allah forgive us all for our shortcomings, our mistakes. But for those who are using it as a means of, I can continue sinning because, Allah is the most merciful and He's just going to forgive me, SubhanAllah, be very, very careful. That's all I'm going to say, because you're not wrong. He is the most merciful. And, I can't say He is or He isn't going to forgive you, but SubhanAllah, it's just, playing that type of game is extremely risky. Because if you live a life in deep sin and then you pass away not getting the opportunity, and that's one of the scariest things about it, then SubhanAllah, that's it, your time's up. Your time's up and your opportunity is gone. So SubhanAllah, I don't know if that's a risk you want to take with your one life and your one chance in this dunya, then hey, SubhanAllah, I was going to say be my guest, but yeah, don't be my guest. And yeah, be very, very careful, because I don't recommend or suggest you do that at all. SubhanAllah, you don't know what lies around the corner. You don't know what health problems you could have that completely overtakes you, and SubhanAllah, all the opportunity that you thought you would have to engage in ibadah and make istighfar and ask Allah to forgive you, that could all go out the window in a snap, and that's it. So SubhanAllah, be very, very careful. May Allah forgive us for all of our shortcomings. May Allah guide us in our efforts to getting onto a path that is most pleasing to Him. Inshallah, may Allah protect and guide us all, inshallah.